Hello everyone, this is lecture video 2 in semester 2 week 21. In this lecture I'm going to introduce to you a comprehension lesson and a phonics lesson. Contents of this lecture, I will introduce the new theme which is in unit 1 lesson 5 in reading writing workshop book. I'm going to introduce the vocabulary words through context clues. I will identify the author's purpose in a text. You will be able to identify it at the end of this lecture. Identify the new genre of the text. There will be a new genre, and you're going to be able to demonstrate the understanding of how the consonant R controls the vowel letters and it changes their sounds when entering a word. So in the phonics we're going to cover a new lesson which is about how the consonant R when it works with the vowel letter and it changes the sound in the word. Okay, let's start with the phonics part. But first of all, let me tell you that you can resort to Grammar Phonics booklet, ISI booklet 1, to pages 87 to 95 to find the phonics lesson with some exercises on it. Listen up. Vowels. I'm the letter U, and if you want to hang around me, you have to understand that I'm in charge. Says letter R. So here the consonant R wants to have a charge over the vowel letters. It wants to change the sound of the vowel letters. So we can say that the consonant R here is a little bit bossy. So our lesson will be about R controlled vowels. What do we mean by R controlled vowels? When one of the vowels A, E, I, O, U is next to letter R, each produces a different sound. So the letter R here, when it works with one of the vowels, it sometimes changes the sound of the vowel. We call these R-controlled vowels because letter R controls how we say the vowel sound. These vowel sounds are R, or, and AR, ER, IR, OR, and UR. You want to understand more what I'm saying? Let's have a look on this chart. Let's see how the sound changes. The sound of the vowel letter in each word changes when we add the consonant R. When the letter R follows a vowel, the vowel and R make a new sound changing the word. For example, let's start with the AR. Cat. First of all, I have the vowel letter A in cat. When we add the R, it will become cart. Cat, cart. You see now how the sound changed? Pat. The second word, pat. Pat. Now if we add R, it will become part. Pat, part. The third word, mat. Mat, when we add the letter R beside the vowel, it will become mart. So, cart, part, mart. Okay? Now let's see when we add the letter R beside the E. A gem, a gem, a germ, a germ. You see the sound how it changed? Bet, bet, bird, bird, hair, hair, herd, herd. Now let's move to the IR, the R beside the vowel letter I. Fist, fist, first, skit, skit, skirt, chip, chip, chirp. You see? First, skirt, chirp. Now we move to the OR. Spots. The first word I have is spots. When I add the R, for example, as in sports, sports, pot, pot, port, for, fort. The same happens when we add the letter R beside the vowel letter U. Hot, ha, hot, hurt, hot, hurt. You see, we didn't say heart, no, we said hurt, hot, hurt. Bun, bun, burn, burn. Cub, cub, curb. You see now how the letter R changes the sound of the vowel letter? Now, the R is going to control the pronunciation and the sound of the vowel when it enters words having a vowel, okay? So there are different spelling patterns for R-controlled words. There is not only one spelling pattern, there are different spelling patterns. Let's see what are these different spelling patterns. For example, when we have AR spelling patterns, sometimes we have just the AR, okay? Spelling pattern, sometimes it's spelled as AR, written as AR only. Sometimes it's written as EAR. Sometimes it's written as ARE. It should have a consonant letter E at the end, or it could be spelled as EAR. Examples: chart, heart, square, swear. You see, I have different spelling patterns with the same spelling sound of the AR. Now we move to other spelling patterns. I have different spelling patterns like OUR, OR, ORE, and OAR. Examples: source, thorn, swore, and aboard. Other spelling patterns? Yes, I have other spelling patterns for the UR. I have the spelling pattern ER, spelling pattern IR that take the sound of the and I have the spelling pattern EAR. I have it written as UR only, and I could have it written as OR. Let's see the sounds now: nerve, shirt, learn, blurt, and word. You see, all of them give the same sound, but they have different spelling patterns. They are written in different ways. Okay, now we have finished from the phonics. You can practice some exercises in the specified pages that I told you about at the beginning of the video. Now it's time to move to the comprehension part. In the comprehension part, for sure, we're going to cover a new reading lesson. Are electronic devices good for us? So we're going to introduce a new genre. The lesson is Unit 1, Lesson 5 in Reading Writing Workshop book. The vocabulary pages are page 76 and 77. The reading lesson pages from 78 to 81. And we're going to cover a new comprehension skill, which is the author's purpose. Are you ready? Let's start with the vocabulary words. Okay, time to start with the vocabulary words. The first word is access. Access. Let's read the example. In order to access the locked room, Brad had to punch in a special number code. So access, when you want to get something from a source or you to get into something. So access, to get something from a source. Example, let me give you another example. If you access information, you get it from a source such as the internet. So the internet is a source. We can access information from the internet. The second word is advance. Advance. Many citizens have marched on Washington to advance people's rights. So when we say advance, when you want something to make a progress, to improve, we say to advance. So advance means to improve or to make a progress, to move forward. So here people, in order to improve with the human or people's rights, they marched on Washington. Okay? Washington Street, or the capital of the USA. Analysis. Analysis. A magnifying glass helped Karina make a careful analysis of the seashell. When we say analysis, we mean as if we are having a closer look at something. We want to analyze it, to study it more, so we make an analysis. Sight. Sight. When doing research, it is important to identify and cite sources of information. So, when you want to make a research, you have to cite sources. You have to write the sources, to mention the sources where you get the information from. It's necessary to write to mention where you get the information in case you are doing a research. For example, you have to cite the resource of your writing. You have to tell me where you got the writing from. Okay? A counterpoint. Now, a counterpoint. Counterpoint, the positive review from one critic was in counterpoint to another's bad review. You see, I had positive review and I had bad review. So the positive review was in counterpoint to the bad review. So here it shows opposite. So when I say counterpoint, I mean opposite points. Data. Okay, data. The students gathered data from their experiment by measuring a bubble size. So they collected data, they collected information. Okay, drawbacks now. Drawbacks. Limited room for passengers and little trunk space are drawbacks of a small car. So you see, we have limited space and the trunk is very small in the small car. So it is a drawback. So here I can know that the writer is talking about a negative point. So I mean a disadvantage. So when we say drawbacks, we mean disadvantages. The last word, reasoning. James used his reasoning skills before deciding on his next chess move. When you make reasonings, as if you are making conclusions, okay, but by thinking in a logical way. So when you think in a logical way, you can make logical reasoning. So now let's have a look on the words with their definitions or their meanings. Access, get it from a source. When we say access, we mean to get something from a source. Advance, move forward or make progress. Move forward or make progress. Analysis, a careful examination or study of something. To study something carefully. Cite, mention it as proof or evidence. Counterpoint, an opposing or disagreeing point of view or opposite point of view, opposite opinion. Data, we mean facts, figures, and other kinds of information. Drawbacks, problems or disadvantages. Reasoning, having the ability to think in a logical way. Okay, now let's start with our new theme. Let's see what the essential question says. What are the positive and negative effects of a new technology? We all use technology nowadays, and we cannot live, sometimes we say that we cannot live without technology, okay? But technology has its own positive points and its own negative points on a human, okay? So in this theme, we're going to cover a part of the positive and negative points of new technologies on humans, okay? Let's listen
New
first
technology.
to the
What are the
theme
positive
of
and
their
negative effects
video.
of new technology? During our lives, we've all enjoyed reading a book and being read to. But technology has changed the way we read books. You can now read a book on e-readers or tablets instead of printed paper. Is one way better than the other? How do they compare? For one thing, a stack of books is bulky and heavy. But with new technology, all these books and more can be stored on a portable device, such as this tablet. Still, an electronic tablet couldn't survive this spill. Should a new technology always replace an old one? As technology changes, we must decide how best to use each new idea. Should a new technology always replace an old one? As technology changes, we must decide how best to use each new idea.
So, From the video, we can figure out that it's good to have technologies, but we have to figure out what's the best way to use it in our life. So we should not allow technologies to affect negatively on our lives. Okay, time to read the text now and try to get the exact theme of this lesson. Are electronic devices good for us? Plugged in. Kids need to spend time using electronic devices. Do you love to surf the internet, listen to music, I am, and talk on a cell phone? You are not alone. A recent study has some surprising news. Kids in the United States between the ages of 8 and 19 spend 7.5 hours a day on electronic devices. These include computers, smartphones, and video games. Some adults try to advance the idea that these devices waste kids' time. However, some research surveys say this idea is inaccurate. In fact, the data show that technology can benefit kids. Critics say that kids stare at computers and TVs all day and do not get enough exercise. The facts stand in counterpoint to this belief. One study compared kids who use media a lot to those who do not. The heavy media users actually spent more time in physical activity than light media users. One study by the National Institutes of Health says that action video games may help increase kids' visual attention. In addition, using interactive media can give kids good structure for learning. It can also help them learn to switch tasks effectively. Kids also need to use the web to access information. Many argue that learning to use the web responsibly sharpens kids' reasoning abilities. Today's world is wired, and not just for fun. The jobs of the future depend on kids who plug in. Tuned out. Electronic media is harming kids. Are kids tuning out by tuning in to electronic devices? An alarming report states that young people spend an hour more per day on computers, smartphones, television, and other electronic media than they did 5 years ago. Nearly 7 out of 10 kids have cell phones. Just 5 years ago, 4 out of 10 had them. Are these devices harmless or hurtful to the well-being of young people? A close analysis of several studies shows that there are plenty of disadvantages to these devices. The internet is supposed to be a great tool for learning. Do kids who love computers do better in the classroom? To cite one report, access to electronic devices does not automatically bring high marks in school. See the graphs below. The below graphs show how the media affects on the grades of students in high school. Some argue that the devices get kids involved and help them make friends. Claims like these are incorrect. A study done by the Pew Research Center discusses teenagers' use of online social networks. Teens do this to keep in touch with the friends they already have, not to make new ones. In addition, trying to meet people online can be dangerous. There are other serious drawbacks to new technology. One issue is multitasking at the same time. One issue is multitasking or trying to do many tasks at the same time. Is it possible to do more than one task at a time well? Some studies say kids' thinking improves when they do several tasks at once. Still, experts point out that much more research needs to be done on this. New electronic devices hit stores every year. Kids should know that there is more to life than what they see on a screen. So now, what do you think? Are electronic devices good for us or no? Yes, they are good in a certain way, but they are also bad in another way. So what we must do is to know how to use them in order not to let them affect negatively on us. Time for genre now. So this genre is somehow new. First of all, the big title is informational text. Yes, that's right. It's an informational text since it gives information. But at the same time, it is a persuasive article. Why do we call it persuasive article? Because the selection here, which are two plugged in and tuned out, two parts, okay, are persuasive articles because they try to persuade the reader to be for or against an idea. They want you to be with or against using electronic devices. So they are trying to convince you with a certain idea. Also, the article includes reasons and evidence that supports each one's opinion. So if you notice that in each opinion, okay, we can see that there are a lot of reasons and evidence used. And also it includes text features such as headings and graphs and statistics. All of these, we use them when we are trying to give facts in order to persuade a reader to persuade the reader with a certain idea. So we call it persuasive article, informational text, but a persuasive article. Last, it's time for the comprehension skill, which is the author's purpose this time. Author's purpose. And if you notice here that I put the drawing of a pie. Pie. What has the pie to do with the author's purpose in English? Let's see. First of all, what is the purpose? Did you know that everything you read has a purpose? Yeah. Now, what I read, there's a purpose behind it. In other words, we say when the author writes something, a book, a magazine, a textbook, a newspaper, or an article, okay, then he or she chooses his or her words for a certain purpose. So every text written or every text you read, there is a purpose behind it. What is the author's purpose? The author's purpose is the main reason that he or she has for writing the selection. So when a writer wants to write something, now I think he starts thinking, my purpose is 1, 2, 3. This purpose, I want it to reach the reader. So this is the purpose behind my writing. So what are the author's purpose that we're going to learn today? They are to entertain, to inform, and to persuade. And if you notice that persuade starts with P, inform starts with I, and entertain starts with E. That's why we did it in the shape of a pie. So in order to keep the author's purposes in your mind, remember the pie. P for persuade, I for inform, and E for entertain. Again, I repeat, pie, P for persuade, I for inform, and E for entertain. What do you mean by persuade, inform, and entertain? Let's see. To persuade first. If you notice here in the pictures, I can see that a mother is reading for her a baby. But in the other picture, I see like a circle, red circle on the TV, which means like here, stop. I can know that the reader wants me to stop watching TV and start reading more. That's right. So here the writer wants to persuade me with a certain opinion, with a certain idea. If the author's purpose is to persuade, the author will want you to believe his or her position. So the author wants you to believe his or her opinion, idea. Persuasive pieces are usually non-fiction. Persuasive texts are usually non-fiction, meaning they are not imaginary, they include facts and reasons. Although there are facts, it contains the author's opinions. We find facts in persuasive texts, but since it is persuasive and the writer wants you to believe his or her point of view, then he or she mentions his or her opinion in the persuasive text. With persuasive pieces, it's clear on the author's point of view if he or she is for or against it. So when we read a persuasive text, the author's point of view, the author's opinion is very clear. Either he is with or against. To inform. inform. If you notice here in the picture, I have cookbook, history, textbooks. So these, they give us what? Information. Information. So you see the word inform comes from information. If the author's purpose is to inform, you will learn something from the selection. So I have to learn a new information from the selection. Information pieces sometimes use one or more of the following. So sometimes we, in the informational text, we might find facts, details and instructions, places, events, and people. Okay, so when you find a lot of information, but pay attention here, the writer is not giving his or her opinion, they are just giving us information, knowledge, extra knowledge, then the author's purpose will be here to inform. The last purpose is to entertain. If you look at the masks in the picture, you can notice that it could be a movie, a film, a play. Okay? If the author's purpose is to entertain, one goal may be to tell a story or to describe characters, places, or events. So mostly when the author wants to entertain us, we can find this purpose behind telling a story or describing characters, places, or events. They could be real or imaginary. Okay, so here the stories and the descriptions could be real or imaginary. Examples of entertaining texts include plays, poems, stories, jokes, or even comic strips. So I think now that the author's purpose is clear as a pie. P for persuade, I for inform, and E for entertain. Okay, we have reached the end of our lecture. Thank you for listening. I hope everything is clear for you. For more practice, you can go to worksheet 2, lecture 2. Okay, bye bye.